That's okay. Can we get on with the meeting now?
Now that you're here, yes.
Thank you. Appreciate the wait.
So now he's in a lineup.
Yeah. Where'd the mayor go? I don't know where he left.
He's back.
We are live, and let me start our council meeting. Welcome to the city council meeting, April 22nd, 2021. The usual pre-meeting update here. The meeting is being live streamed right now. It's out there on YouTube for all the world to see, so be aware of that. There's no edits, no takebacks, no redos. You know the rules about miking, and go ahead and unmic when you have something to say. If there's noise that's coming from you, we'll ask you to kind of calm that down. Mind your camera angles, and the meeting is closed captioned, as you can see. At this time, I'll ask Councilwoman Gramzo if you'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Gramza. I will do our roll call.
Gramza,
Present in Luna Pier.
Grimes,
Here in Lona Pier.
Meadows,
Come on, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Meadows.
He's
I'm present, but not in Luna Pier.
okay. Wakeman
Here in Luna Pier.
and Anstead is absent. Welton,
Here in Luna Pier.
Mayor Gardner.
Here in Luna Pier. Thank you very much. I trust you've all had a chance to look at the agenda and the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of March 25th, 2021, and tonight's consent agenda as presented, and waive the reading.
Support.
We have a motion and we have support. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Now the hard part, since we missed our meeting last month, we have some bills to pay. Do I have a motion?
All right, here we go. Make a motion to approve bill of warrant number 14060 for $104,753.27 paid. Bill of warrant number 14061 for $16,815.07 paid. Bill of warrant number 14062 for $4,000 paid, totaling $125,568.34 paid. Bill of warrant number 14063 for $12,906.04 unpaid, and the Visa bill for $744.
Thank you for all of that.
I need a glass of water now. I'll be right back.
Do we have support?
Support.
A motion and support. Any discussion? We'll go to a roll call vote.
Grimes,
Yes.
Meadows. Oh, sorry, can't vote. Wakeman,
Yes.
Welton,
Yes.
Gramza,
Yes.
Mayor Gardner.
Yes. Motion carried. At this time, I would like to introduce Sandy Ben. Sandy, if you can, I think you're unmuted there. Can you hear us?
Yes, just a second.
Okay. If you know Sandy,
Okay, I'm in a meeting.
I'll do a little introduction. She is with the Lighthouse, Toledo Harbor Lighthouse Association, but also a longtime activist with the Lake Erie Waterkeepers. Yeah, I remember a meeting several years ago where she attended one of our flood erosion protection meetings and told us about an algae bloom that was really bad that year and said that she was going to go buy some bottled water and have it ready for August 1st. Well, she missed her prediction by one day because the day before that was the famous or infamous Toledo water crisis. So Sandy really knows her stuff. She presented this resolution to us that other municipalities around us have already passed. I think today is Earth Day. It's a good time to do this. We didn't plan it that way, but it just works out that way. I'll turn it over to Sandy to tell us about this resolution and what it will do.
Thank you, Mayor. So you were at the Rotary Club meeting then in Perrysburg. That's where that happened. And it really happened because I was frustrated because my speech didn't go over very well. And I picked up the glass of water and said, someday you may not be able to drink this water. And it happened. So it was out of frustration that I did it. And the outcome was sad, quite frankly, not something we'd ever want. So this resolution on the Lake Erie Executive Order is before you this evening to simply try to ask the Biden administration to have the federal government manage the reductions in the algae, the harmful algae, and to have increased local government involvement. This procedure or process worked for Chesapeake Bay in 2009 when then President Obama became president and signed the executive order. Most people in Chesapeake Bay see that as the turning point for the bay, which eventually brought back the oysters and the crabs. So thinking that by the Biden administration may be able to help us out, because quite frankly, the amount of progress we've made on reducing the amount of nutrients and phosphorus going into Lake Erie has been nominal, sadly. And we need more accountability. But the other part of this that I think is important to recognize is that it is local governments, it's the water and the wastewater plants who are incurring the cost and the problems of the water plants in particular for the treatment and testing, monitoring, and sometimes putting in capital equipment for the water treatment. And certainly the wastewater plants to reduce their phosphorus outputs and reduce their sewage overflows is very costly. And I think that, and we're also economically impacted, as we all know, Pier in particular, and any other community along the waterfront. When the water is green, it's not as attractive and you don't get as many people coming into your community, spending money and helping the economy. So there's a whole host of reasons, but it seems like this is an opportune time for local governments to do this. So far, the city of Toledo, Lucas County, the city of Sandusky, Lakewood, and Oregon have approved it. And it's on the agenda or near the agenda, probably about 7 or 8 more communities. And the hope is that once these resolutions are passed, we'll give each community, ask for a spokesperson, excuse me, and we'll go over the requested executive order and we'll submit it to the Biden administration that hopefully will take some action and help Lake Erie to get on track to be less green. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Now, I know you mentioned that municipalities are paying the price right now, and nobody knows that more than we do with our water plant upgrade that we were mandated. We had to do it, and it cost our residents a lot of money, in upgrades when we are a minuscule amount of the nutrients going in. We are even cleaner now, even though we were very, very clean before. This bill, I assume, will help with the bigger players who are putting many times more phosphorus into the water than we are. Is that correct?
It really just asked what Chesapeake did and what we're doing is saying to the federal government, you have all these different agencies. So you have, of course, EPA, Department of Interior, NOAA, Department of Agriculture, and others. And you guys are all working on this algae issue. A lot of money, federal money and state money and private money, quite frankly, is being spent to address it. We really want to see the reductions. And what happened in Chesapeake is the same thing that's happening here. And that is all that money does not appear to be being used where we're really getting the reductions that we need. So this doesn't target anyone or do anything like that at this point. I mean, we all know that the primary sources, according to every research we see, is from fertilizer and manure. But anybody putting something into the system that can be reduced, and we got the Detroit wastewater plant to reduce half of their output at not much cost. And so that was a real big win. But this does not decide who will reduce how much and who will pay. This merely says, look, we need every year to have the federal government come back and say, this many pounds of phosphorus are no longer going into the lake because this is what we did to reduce it, to get to the 40%. So we really see progress instead of every year worrying about how much it's raining and what's going to, I mean, last year was great. The year before that was awful. So it's a happenstance in terms of the runoff and the rain. We all know that, but this is really to have accountability with the federal government and to have the local governments pushing for that accountability, because quite frankly, local governments are the most impacted, I think, by the algae.
Thank you.
You know, Sandy does a great job with all things water, and even with her latest stewardship with the Erie Marsh. She's a really great proponent. And we did have a quick discussion, her and I, on local municipalities and their wastewater treatment plants are taking a good brunt of the TIMDL allowances and all those, and the permitting and whatnot, and everything about what they're allowing. And it's not necessarily across the even across the board with different municipalities. You know, we got hit hard, yet more inland from us, we know that they didn't get hit as hard as we did, which just doesn't seem to make sense to a community like ours. So I guess my only question to you, Sandy, would be, once, if the government does agree to set a standard for allowables, is it a monetary thing that we're looking for here, or is it just more of a standard that everyone must adhere to?
Neither. Really, what this is to manage. This is simply to say, you know, we need a 40% reduction. And in 2022, federal government, you come back and you tell me how much of that reduction we've met. Right now, there's no one really doing that. So what's coming into the system, like your little bit would have counted, you know, at least on a chart. I don't see that anywhere. So we need to know how much is being reduced. And quite frankly, if there's anything being added to the system, which there is, unfortunately. So if there's something coming into the system that's making it worse, we need to know that as well. But this is just to say to the federal government, we want accountability. And the way they did it in Chesapeake was the TMDL here. You know, I don't know that the TMDL is, we'll see what happens with that. But really, we just want every year to come to the table and say, here's what we've done, here's how much we've spent, and here's how much progress we've made. So that instead of saying every year, here's the bloom, and is it going to be good or bad or awful or sort of awful or not bad at all, you know, we have the others, that's the impact side. And then we all kind of either breathe a sigh of relief that year or we dread it, right? 2019 was really bad. But yes, we're not seeing progress reports. We're seeing, you know, they're starting to do with the domestic action plans that they have for each of the states. But the federal government is really not leading it. The states are leading it. And we really need the federal government to kind of bring it all together as they did the last time when Lake Erie recovered. I mean, they were in Grosse Ile and they had the offices there. And every year they had a meeting and they told where we were at. And I think local governments can push the federal government to doing that, and then kind of push the states to making sure that if they're spending the money, we're actually getting the reductions that are needed to get rid of the problem. Does that answer your question? I didn't mean to be coy about it, but this is really not saying, here, we know the solution, this is what we're going to do. This is to say, we need a reduction. You tell us we need 40%. Every year you come back and tell us where it's at and how much is being done. We want to see the end of this road. We want to see this project of reduction done, completed.
So action, engagement, action, and accountability. Sure.
Right. And then bring all the parties to the table. You bring the states and the researchers and the federal government and the local, but the local governments, I think, would be pivotal through this resolution as the leaders in saying, hey, we're paying for all this. We're really at the point where if it keeps getting worse, we're going to have to treat more, charge more, and be threatened more, quite frankly. And we don't want that. And so you really need to make sure you're getting the reductions, not just marking time. That's not acceptable. And that's kind of what's been happening probably 10 years now, sadly. Okay.
Sandy, a number of years ago, there was a group that came in and talked to us. They were going to pick out 10 to 15 hot spots, they thought, on the Raisin River, and a few of the creeks that were around. They were going to go down through each one and identify how much pollutants they were putting in. And supposedly they were supposed to talk to the farmers or whoever it was that was putting the pollutants into the water to more or less slow them down or stop them. But has anything ever developed on that?
It didn't, in the Raisin, it did in the Maumee. There was some success with it, but it was really hard to keep the number of volunteers you need because, quite frankly, you have to go, the way that program worked was you needed to test upstream, downstream, background, and then after heavy rain. And after heavy rain, it had to be within a very short period of time, like 12 hours, because the water, as we know, rushes quickly. And we weren't able to get the number of volunteers to do that. We may have another program this year that may test where we're microcystins at. They have a cheaper way of testing for that, and that would be a good indicator, because when we look at the algae now, we don't know if it's toxic or not. So that would be a contribution. But that other program worked. If we simply had enough people doing it, it would still work, but we did not have enough volunteers to keep it up.
Okay. So nothing was ever presented to if they identified a piece of property that was putting too much in the system. They didn't have the power to do anything with them, but did they ever go up and talk to them, or
in the Maumee, it was very successful. They did exactly, they used the system we suggested, which was to start maybe 1 or 2 miles upstream, okay, and then downstream 2 locations. And then after heavy rainfall, measure it. And then if it goes up downstream, or upstream, because if you're upstream, you still have to move it backwards, right? So you have to go up further because the source is coming up further. We were able to pinpoint a couple places where there was runoff that was causing a problem. And in each of those cases, there was no publicity or anything. The people went and talked to the farmers, and the farmers agreed to change their practices. And then they tested about 6 months later, and the problem was solved. So it was very successful. It worked. But again, it took a lot of volunteers, and there was nothing enforcement wise that it would do. But it was kind of like, we want to work with you. If you don't, and then we still have the problem, then we'll tell the agencies to test here, please, because obviously it would still be verifiable. And you can go through the process of enforcement and all that you have to. But it was never intended to do that. But again, we just didn't get enough volunteers. It's hard to get enough people to go out after a rain and test and know the procedures. So it stopped, unfortunately.
All right, thank you.
Sure. And the Erie Marsh comment, thank you very much. That's a project I am absolutely thrilled about. I think of all the projects I've ever worked on, maybe besides the lighthouse, that is an exciting project. And I think if it comes to fruition in the way it appears it may, it could help Luna Pier. I mean, I think, I've talked to, what's his name from Detroit, from the Detroit River Project, Hartig, you know, he thinks Erie Marsh is an incredible place, and he thinks it could be really top notch for bird watching and other, you know, just ecosystem kinds of things. And I would love to see paddling and just tours and that kind of stuff going through. It would make it certainly Luna Pier would shine with that, and it would be great. But it is a huge, and the Army Corps of Engineers is being extremely helpful in helping to lead it. And this time the state of Michigan and Ohio are in concert with the projects, and it'll be an open process, and it's exciting. And I think the outcome in 5 or 10 years may be something you'll really look back on and give a smile and say, this was great for our community and great for the lake.
I can answer part of Stacy's question too. There is a very effective group with the point drain, and they have been very successful in taking measurements and making a difference with soil measurements and talking with farmers. And the farmers have been very cooperative about not over fertilizing, only putting what it needs, because of the amount that's already in the soil. It just costs more money to add it, and that runs off. And they've been very successful. If you notice, there's a gauge down there by the trolley car bridge, the old bridge there next to the boat ramps, that measures the water flow, which direction, how fast it's going. So that really helps tell whether if there's any algae in there, is it coming from the lake or is it going to the lake? Or if there are nutrients, are they going to the lake or coming from the lake? So there has been progress there. I don't know about the River Raisin though.
You'll have to tell me where that's at, because I'm always interested in those kinds of projects.
Okay, I have a photo of it, so I'll start with that.
All right,
Send you
a
that.
contact person, that would be great.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Sandy. We'll move on with our meeting. You're welcome to stick around or
I'll listen for a bit. I just wanted to end with saying the lighthouse, the first floor windows and shutters were installed last year, and the second floor ones will be installed this year. We're still seeking funding to get the rest of it finished. If I can find boats or whatever where we can take people out from Luna Pier as well as from here at Maumee Bay, would really like to do that in the future. I see the opportunities for the region as being huge with the lighthouse. And it is, I hope you all know, the dream of that, we're all volunteers for the lighthouse. So once it's restored, there will be 4 people that will stay at it for some period of time, 5 days, 10 days, we haven't figured that out, who will be the keepers and let boats pull up to the lighthouse during the day, in season, and go and tour it. So it'll be open to the public. And I think the model is a good one. If we can get it finished and restored, I think it will be a major, major tourist attraction for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Thank you.
Moving on to the mayor's report. I sent everyone a copy of it. There's quite a bit on there. It may be a long report tonight, but I'll make it brief. We are working with a police millage with our informational signs, Facebook post questions and answers. I had one question of how much will it actually cost on average, and that is a very difficult question to answer. The best I can say is look at your taxable value and look at 1,000, 0.001 multiplied by 0.001, and that will give you the answer, because the number fluctuates so much depending on how long you've lived in your house. Not necessarily the value of it, but the taxable value is the important number to multiply it by, and you will come up with how much that will cost each resident. Once again, here is what the proposal looks like. Shall the charter be amended. That's how all of the millages are worded. Not to, let me move over here a little bit. Not to exceed 1.900 mils per 1,000 upon all taxable property for a period of 4 years, 2022 through 2025 inclusive. So that's what it looks like. That is the legal wording that was approved. The workers are on site installing the elevator. It's looking good. They're making progress there. They've got the framework there. They're putting all those pieces together. Phase 1 will be the installation of the elevator itself, and then we'll need to do the drywall work over what they did, and then they can put the final trim in after drywall is up. So our next step would be drywall finishing. We do have a couple of estimates. Both of them are very, very close, right around $6,000, right at $6,000. We have a company that we prefer because it's a whole crew rather than one person doing most of the work. If nobody objects, I would like to approve that because we did get our estimates. It's a reliable company. They'll get it in and get it done really quick, and then the elevator people can get back and finish up the last trim pieces that they have to do after the drywall's in place.
I agree with the crew as well.
Yeah, I think it. If nobody has any objection, I can ask for a consensus that I think we should go with the crew that gets in there and gets it done, and their prices within dollars of each other. They both quoted the same. With the Luna Pier Road overpass, MDOT we have been in contact with MDOT. I've been in contact with the cost engineer. We are asking, along with the county and with Erie Township, for a dedicated pedestrian lane. It will be built to accommodate that lane, and then the county actually will be responsible for part of that work, but they are in on it. It's all outside of Luna Pier, so the cost right now is just getting the deck wide enough to accommodate that, and that would all be picked up by MDOT and their planning. So we are pushing. We asked for a lane going both ways. We're probably not going to get that, but I think a lane on the north side, separated from traffic with a barrier, would be most beneficial because that gets a clear lane over to Victory Road. A lot of people walk that circle, and it would really be most beneficial there, and it would connect with future plans that we have in place throughout the county. One thing to note, that it was planning at the county level that is very, very recent that really drove this and gave us any chance of even having a lane up there, because you have to have proposed plans, and we have that now, and it's all within the last 2 years that we've developed those plans. So it really shows the importance of planning when something like this happens, because they weren't planning on replacing that overpass, but they moved it up because it's in such bad shape. So 2023 is the time frame, and we'll see what we can get, what makes the cut. Now, Crown Castle has served notice that they want to extend their option. We have to agree to that extension for another 5 years. It picks up a 3% annual increase starting October 2021. I would like to look at other deals, see what's out there. It's a good contract, but we need to know what that value is, how much people are willing to pay, because it may be more than that. We just don't know. We got a good deal, and we really upped our revenue from that 5 years ago. We should look at it again. So we'll have more information on that. We do have some time to decide, but we are running up to the deadline of when we have to decide.
We know what percentage we're getting now?
Percentage increase or percentage,
It's the wording is that we're getting an additional 3% on top of what?
on top of, I think it's $1,800 a year. I mean, a month. Or no, 18. Let me look. 18. Do you remember, Jolene, what that is for the? It's the
I don't
monthly.
know the exact figure. It seems like it's around 18 or something, but I
Yeah.
don't know the exact figure.
Okay, I'll get that. I'll get that out, and it goes up from there. That is the base, and that has been the same for the last 5 years. We are going to open the public restrooms, as we were discussing earlier, just before the meeting started. For everyone that didn't hear, that we are going to open and try to open for this weekend. This is earlier than we have started before, but we are getting significant traffic at the beach, and we can tell by the parking revenue with the fishing and people just coming to visit the beach that we're already up over last year. So I think we can justify opening up the restrooms. It's a lot better than having the porta johns in place, which nobody likes. And we are looking at the final details for the Loop 2 parking meter system. There are some advantages of going with a cellular connection and solar powered battery for that. It makes it very portable. We can move it, we can use it wherever we want. It's pretty expensive to run the cable and the data cable to it and the power, and then hook it up at the lighthouse. So we will work out those details. We already did approve the purchase of it, and I think it's a good investment because we're on borrowed time with the current parking box meter that's there. We've had a lot of trouble in the past, and it is getting older.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I saw at the top of the last slide, you had you had a line there about the new dock.
The docks. Yeah.
Are we still in are we, I know there's a challenge with the new width of the dock, where the proposed location is going to be. Do we have the same situation on the old dock? Meaning, if we took the old dock and put it where the new location was, is it a better option to put the new dock where the old dock is? I'm just asking.
I think it's tight. It's the same. It's pretty much the same
Okay.
footprint there.
Just thought it was worth a look.
Yes. What we're trying to do is a replacement without getting to the point where we have to go through permitting as a new dock. So we can replace a lot easier.
Mayor, I have a question on the overpass.
Yes.
Are they planning on doing what they did down at La Pleasance Road, where you'll have one lane that'll be open and the other lane is closed down? Or how are they actually going to do that? That's really our only access into the city.
I imagine they will replace that entire deck like they did Erie Road, and then
So
you'll have to go.
how are we going to get into town? Through
You'll get
Senior
off
Road?
on the northbound, and
Use the other bridge.
They leave the entrances and exits open, so it's really inconvenient. But 'cause they did the same thing with Erie Road when they took the whole bridge out. They left the exits open, so you just have to either go one exit farther to get one way or not. Like if you're coming northbound, you'll be able to get right off into town. But if you're coming southbound, you'll have to go down to Erie and come back, that kind of thing. Or you've got the Gainier option. But yeah, they're going to take that whole bridge out.
yeah, they're gonna, because they have to do the approaches and everything. The bridge is gonna be 2.5 feet taller, so everything has to be redone. So it will be closed, and that's the current plan. Now, it's still in the engineering stages, but that's what they're telling us, that it's going to be closed.
It'll be inconvenient, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
it will be. Yeah, going south especially will be inconvenient. You'll have to go north to South Otter Creek probably to turn around there to go back south again.
But will we get new off ramps though?
I'm sure that's in the works, because all of that's going to be done, and even the approach will be a little bit longer most likely. So that will definitely affect the on-off ramps. So
Are they
it's
gonna-
all going to be new eventually.
Are they gonna have to move those approaches farther from the span?
I don't think so.
Because
We'll
the span
see.
being taller?
It's not even engineered yet, but we don't think so. They asking that question the other day, the consensus was no, they'll be where they are. The span will very likely be a little bit longer. They have to look at the slope that's there now and what it's going to take to get up to the 2.5 feet.
Well, and also, if they're doing any raising of I-75 like they did in the south, they had to raise the approaches, or they had to raise the exits and entrances as well. So
Yes.
it can all go up accordingly,
Yes,
technically.
and they're very loose with their predictions. They qualify them with it's in the engineering stages, and we haven't engineered that yet. So they are being honest and but not committing. They are giving opinions, but not a firm commitment.
But that is a good question with regard to 75. Did they get the funding for the next 5 miles of I-75 yet? And does that conflict with the bridge replacement at all? That'll make it even worse.
I think they're doing I don't know the answer to that. I don't know which section they're doing next. Now, I do know that Ajax Paving pulled completely out. They pulled all of their equipment out of Erie Road, so they won't be working out of there. But that they did not have the contract locked up before either. So, but they pulled out and have no plans of working out of that location. Any other questions on that? We are working about getting an estimate, as we talked at our last Parks and Rec meeting, about getting the plan updated. We have a connection there that's working with us to see what we can get, and then we'll look at funding from there. And the master plan is also out of date. It really needs an update. We need to work on planning that. We didn't start that yet, but just keep it in mind that it is very advantageous to have that updated, especially when looking for funding. We talked about the Lake Erie resolution. One of the hot topics on all of the Michigan Municipal League meetings, and the top question they get is when are we going to see money for the American Rescue Plan? And when will we see it? How much will it be? And what will the restrictions be on the funding? And nobody knows the answer to that. They're all in negotiations. But it could be a significant amount of money. We need to have our plans in place just in case. We'll have till 2024 to spend that money, but we need to spend it very, very wisely. And having the planning in place is critical to doing that. That's all I have. Any questions? Thank you very much. We'll move on to fire department report. You all had a copy of that. 18 calls in March. They're a busy crew. If you saw the building report, 88,000 in new construction value and 5,228 in fees. So people are doing their upgrades and are getting their permits and improving our city. Any questions on that?
I do have a question on that sewer tap on the building report.
Yes.
It showed the $3,600 and something all as a permit fee. That didn't make sense to me.
That is the permitting fee, and the tap in fee is included in that. That's the
Okay.
bulk of that fee.
Okay, they just don't separate out the cost with the fee kind of thing.
Correct.
Okay.
Hey, Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to talk a little bit, if I could,
Sure.
about the fire department.
Yep. This is a good time to do that.
Okay.
Department reports.
For some of you who don't know, the fire department hasn't actually had any real work done to it in a long time. I mean, we've painted and we've done this, we've done that. About a year and a half ago, we had a leak in the roof. We got that patched, but basically it ruined the floor in the kitchen. We had to have that all pulled up. And they were all asbestos tiles. We spent about $2,000 fixing that up. It looks nice now. The thing is, it's sooner or later, we're going to have to do some things to it. I've been told by Dave Gouts that the roof is about 25 years old. That's the nearest he can guess as to the actual age. And I went out to about 6 different places and asked them to come give me their honest opinion and an estimate. Just looking to see what it was going to cost, if we could just recoat it. Do we have to replace the whole roof? From what I understand, there's actually a roof on top of and I don't know what you call it, but it's got the little stone stuff on it over the top of that.
Ballast.
And pardon?
Called ballast.
Right. And then there's supposed to be some sort of a tar underneath that. But anyways, between that and the windows, there are 4 main windows on the back of the fire department. They're all single pane glass. There are the ones in the front between the garage doors. They're all single pane glass. We had Frank Woodward go out and price those out to see what it would cost to just replace those particular windows, and just the windows themselves ends up being about $2,000. Now, so far I've only really gotten one bid back, and it is just to recoat the roof. Basically it says clean it and then recoat it. And you're talking, they said labor and materials is $21,000. I mean, I wish I could come and say, hey, we need a new fire station, which we all agree. Where we're going to get the money is another question. But I'd hate 2 years from now to all of a sudden have the roof give in, and now we've ruined a lot of things in there. And if anybody has any, I don't know, suggestions, anything like that, I'd really appreciate it. I'm going to submit in our budget this year to possibly have the roof replaced or repaired, either one, depending on what all the quotes say or what all the people say that come and take a look at it. It's just, 25 years is a pretty good length on a roof. Like I said, we really haven't done a lot to the physical building itself. We've tried to keep it up, replace lights, replace tiles, painted, stuff like that. Normal, I guess you'd call it wear and tear stuff, but big things we haven't. So there's my pitch. Like I said, if you guys can think of anything, we had been kicking around an idea about possibly trying to build a police, fire, and city hall building all in one. But then again, the money. But then if we do that, we could turn around and sell the property that the fire department's sitting on right now, which from what I've been told is prime real estate. You could also sell the property that the city hall is actually sitting on and the police station sitting on right now. So
Yep, something we can turn over to planning.
I agree. I just wanted everybody to know, you know, sooner or later, we're going to have to address it one way or another.
Yeah, I want to clarify one thing as we talked, that you're just getting estimates at this point to find out how much it's going to cost.
That is correct. I'm not
go
going
the
through with
bidding
anything.
process and post it and publish and solicit bids the way our charter says.
Right. No.
Nobody's doing
I
anything
agree.
under the-
I just wanted to have some sort of an idea, just a
Yep.
roundabout idea of what we're looking at.
Yep.
But I'm figuring if like this one, like I said, is $21,850, but that's just to put a like a rubber coating over the top of it.
So we know it's going to be over our amount that we will have to. solicit
Yes,
bids,
and
we will follow that process.
I just wanted to kind of give everybody a heads up that this might be coming our way, and we got to figure out somehow to do something with it.
Yep, very good. I just want to make sure everyone knows you're.
I'm just looking at prices. That's it.
Yep.
I just wanted to have an idea.
Yep. Any questions on that? Hearing none. I know the police chief is on. Did you have anything to add, Chief Ansel?
I only had like a question at this point for Parks and Rec. I believe Mr. Grimes might be on that and yourself, Mayor.
Yeah.
The signs are, dilapidated, and those signs are really important for law enforcement to be able to enforce. It helps us to enforce our ordinances and laws, particularly on the beach and the pier itself. And I know we've talked quite some time about signs and getting some of them replaced, but I'm just wondering and asking, is there a possibility of getting a couple of up-to-date signs, looking at the wording together and getting that relatively soon rather than later? I would love to have it before the summer really kicks in. It would have really helped with the enforcement end of things if we had those signs. Don't know if anybody can answer that at this point.
Well, this is Mr. Grimes, Chief.
Yes, sir.
I think you commented on the one sign that I shared where it had a big footprint and says, I don't know, something about just leave your footprints in the sand.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're thinking of, a sign at both the entrances of going down to the beach? Because we've got people here in the city that are artists and can go ahead and do that. And buying the material, you're probably looking at maybe 3/4 inch womanized plywood or something like that, and have them paint it and, cut it out, make it look like a footprint and so on. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
No, however, that was I thought that was fairly ingenious. I did comment on it. I thought it was a good idea. I think it looks good. It catches your attention. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. But the signs that I'm talking about are signs that have been around forever that are completely unreadable. The letters are frailing on them and falling apart, and they're small. And I'd like to add a little bit of wording on it, make things a little bit clear. No alcoholic beverages, obviously. Leave most of the wording, but I also would like to add something on, what we call 3,500 marijuana, no marijuana on the beaches, no littering of any sort, that type of thing. Those signs really help us to enforce the ordinances. I'm not saying we have to have them, but it sure does help.
Where
So
are
those
those signs?
I'm talking about.
Where are those signs posted now? Are they right before you go onto the pier?
Well, yes, so there's one right kind of in the billboard, that little glass billboard thing, but the main sign that I was talking about is at the north end of our parking lot when you pull into the parking lot, next to the lighthouse there. And then there's also a sign that matched that sign, looked just like it, in the other parking lot, the most western parking lot. But really, to be honest, all of our parks, the signs are in terrible shape, and it would be nice to start replacing them as long as we come up with the wording that needs to be done. So we can't go back and change them, because once they're done, they're done.
Right.
And I did speak with a person who's ready and willing to make these signs. Did not get an estimate at this time from him. He is related to the gals at Chateau Louise, and that's what he does. That's his job. He does signs, and that's what I have for that. So just wondering, hoping that maybe we could do something on that issue.
Chief, I have a question. The ones that are up that are faded now, those are all the wording of the ordinances. So do we need to rewrite the ordinance then?
I believe that there would be one ordinance where we would want to specify when it comes to the issue of marijuana.
Okay, because do we have an ordinance that said, I mean, in general, we know it's not legal to have it public, but do we need to write a specific ordinance for that topic?
No, because we can enforce it through the laws now. I'm only saying that if this was posted on a sign, it gives us more bite.
Oh, okay.
And that's all that does. But no, we can enforce laws as they stand now with that.
Okay.
Yep.
That's all I wondered. Thank you.
Yes, sure.
Chief, if you want to go ahead and get an estimate from that individual you're talking about.
Yes.
And then give it to myself or the mayor, and we can take it up to the Parks and Rec and get it probably
Sure.
pushed. Okay.
Sure. We'll do. Absolutely.
All right.
The only other small item that I had is that our range is kind of up and running. The building has been, we've got chairs and tables in there for instruction. We've got 2 people that are NRA instructors who have given us a deposit, and they have begun to use the range. They've also supplied us with added and extra insurance, which includes the city of Luna Pier. So I would like to take those insurance policies that they forwarded to me and maybe give them to our attorney, just to make sure that we are covered the way that we want to be covered. But it's a little bit of income. It's not going to be a lot, obviously, but it's something that we didn't have before that's going to maybe help. I believe we spoke briefly, the mayor and I, about splitting that, maybe having split that right down the middle, whatever comes in, for us to maybe it'll help in various ways with our cost of ammunition, that type of thing, and supplies, and then the other half would go to the city and however they want to do that. So that's coming along very well. We've got that done. I've had some help with Dave Gouts, who's maneuvered things, and it's pretty tight down there now. With the porta-john down there is permanent. It's brand new. It was basically given to us. So it's a good thing, and it's going well now. And that's about all I have right now. I have other things, but I'll save it for next meeting.
Yep. If you can forward me those additionally insured.
Absolutely. I just got them.
Insurance representative too.
Sure.
Because they are very helpful with that, and as they consulted before with you on it, so they know what's going on and told us exactly how to make sure we're covered.
Absolutely. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Committee reports. Any other reports from committees?
The Flood and Erosion Committee, Mid-American's been out working on the dikes. They should be wrapping up fairly close. We did go look at that one that you talked about the other day, Mayor, that is pretty much disintegrated, but everything looks fairly good what they've done, and hopefully they'll get wrapped up. They got to get a day where there's a little low water in there to get that one cylinder. So, but Matt Thompson, he does a pretty good job and keeps on top of everything. So,
Yep. He was calling me in Stacy's absence, and now he's staying in touch with Stacy. So they are doing a great job with that. Any other committee reports? Old business, we have none. Moving on to new business, the request to abandon the alley at Dick Street at Columbus Grove. Does everyone familiar with that, what we're talking about there? It was another case where this was abandoned years ago and never recorded. And so now it's causing problems because we have to have documentation. And it's basically this little section here, and it's blocked at both ends by houses. There's nothing. This is completely landlocked by the properties all around it. It just one section never got recorded on a deed, so we need to fix that, as we have in other cases. It only shows on a property map. If you were on site, you would never see anything there. Any questions?
The same issue to the south as well.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, so that is just, it's one little area that did not get recorded. That should have been done right before. It wasn't, and we need to fix it now.
I have no questions. It's pretty clear.
All right. Yep. Letter of interest from Joe Bazinski. As you see that there's two letters of interest. One from Sean Reed. Both are very qualified. Joe did turn in his application first, and he owns two major properties within the DDA district. So my recommendation at this point, since we only have room for one, we're allowed 8 on the DDA, and there's only one opening right now. My recommendation would be Joe Bazinski at this point. There may be some openings very soon.
And the other applicant does seem to have a pretty impressive resume as well.
Very impressive. I have a call out to him. I didn't get a return call yet. I would really like to talk to him. He has extensive planning background, great qualifications. We're very fortunate to have such talented people in our city.
Well, if we haven't spoke with him, I mean, maybe we should table this until you've had a chance to talk to him.
Well, we still need to fill the DDA spot. And even looking at just the property ownership, the commercial property ownership alone, I'm still leaning towards Joe Bazinski.
Okay.
And we still might be able to we may be able to put them both on the DDA soon. We'll find out. I want to make sure we word that correctly to leave room in case another vacancy opens up. I'm not kicking anybody off the DDA or anything, so it's nothing that. But we just may have an opening soon, and it would be great to. Both of these residents are very, very qualified and very talented individuals. And that's a letter of interest from Sean Reed. And I really thank them for applying, both of them for applying. We have a letter of interest from Chris Burkett for the Parks and Rec Commission. She has some great ideas. She's been to a parks meeting and is pretty excited about getting involved.
Mayor, that would be specifically for an alternate is all you have left
Correct.
on that. So it would just be the alternate position.
Yes. Yes. And there's a lot she can contribute in that with that appointment. The budget amendments, these are all grant related. As we know from past audits, at the end of the year, if we don't budget for money that came in for a grant that we didn't expect when we did the original budget, if we don't amend the budget and put it in there, it looks like we spent more money than we planned, and it looks bad on an audit. It looks like we spent more than we planned to spend. Well, we did actually, because we didn't expect to get the grant, but we did get the grant. So all of this is really good funding. It's come from grant money. We just have to show that we had the revenue coming in, so we adjusted the budget to spend that money. And that ties up just a thing that it calls a red flag in an audit. The resolution number 954, the Lake Erie resolution there. I think we discussed that enough. Thank you, Sandy, for. At this time, first of all, is there any more questions on the new business? Hearing none, we'll talk amongst ourselves. If somebody wants to give a comment, you can call 734-848-6495, and we would be glad to hear from you, hear your comments. You could talk directly. If you do that, then we ask that you turn the sound down on your YouTube video that you're watching, because it will feed back at about a 30-second delay and cause a big mumble jumble. But you can leave a message and we'll relay that message. You can talk directly with that little bit of a delay, however you choose. But we're going to give time right now to make up for that delay and give everybody a chance to call 734-848-6495 to comment on anything you see here, any recommendations you have, any opinions you have, any comments that you would have, just like if it were a live meeting. And we do ask for the same courtesy that you would express at a public meeting, that keep everything appropriate. We are meeting because of the county-wide state of emergency for COVID-19, which gives us the opportunity to meet online rather than in person with the surging COVID cases in Michigan. We hope that will go down soon. Never expected to be there at this time of year, but that's where we are. We'll be watching the phones. Any other related comments?
It always feels like a telethon at this point.
Yes. Well, we need some fake phones ringing in the background just to encourage people to call in. We do like to hear comments. Sometimes they're hard to hear. They're very truthful, and but it helps us do our jobs better. So feedback is good. Well, no phones ringing, Jolene?
Nothing here.
Okay. I think we've given enough time for people to call in. We'll move on from I'll close the public comment section at this time. You can always call City Hall, call my office. We do like feedback, and we'll hear what's on your mind. Moving on to council action. The request from Ed Fosanoff, 4530 Ann Street. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to abandon the alley between Dix Street and Ann Street, including lots number 17 through 32 in the Columbus Grove subdivision as presented, and waive the reading.
Or
Support.
We have support. Did you get that, Jolene?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, we have a motion, we have support. Any discussion? If not, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Wakeman,
Yes.
Gramza,
Yes.
Grimes,
Yes.
Welton,
yes.
Mayor Gardner.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you very much. A letter of interest from Joe Bazinski. Keep in mind we have 2 of these, and we can only fill 1 of the seats. Motion. We can approve or deny either way. Do we have a motion on the table?
It's a toughie with not being able to have any response from the other person, so kind of on the
Okay.
fence here.
Okay. Yep, I understand that.
I know it needs to be filled. I wish I had a better crystal ball on when 2 positions would be opening up for the DDA, so that we can just say, okay, let's do this one now and we'll do the other one in a couple of weeks.
How long has this position been vacant?
Since
Bernie
a few
moved.
months.
Bernie, yeah.
Bernie Russell moved out of the city and submitted the resignation, and we voted on that.
And is there going to be any discussion with the other person on the possibility of even the planning commission, or are there any vacancies on the planning commission?
I would really like to talk about that. Like I say, I did call. I didn't get a call back. We can reach out, and if there's no motion on the table, then we can move on.
I just have a problem with Joe, based on when he purchased the plaza and he brought those city slickers in from Detroit, trying to ram it down our throats to put in another marijuana facility. And, you know, we were led to believe they told us that the complex was sold, and I asked them a question: if we didn't approve what they were looking for, what was going to happen to the plaza? And he goes, well, it'd go back up for, or it's still up for sale then, because we won't go through on the deal. And it just, I just have, I don't have a good feeling about.
And I received a phone call the morning after that council meeting.
Guys, let's not talk about this right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna just let it die on the floor here. Till we can interview both people or talk more with both people.
I like the idea of holding off and being able to interview both people like we've done with other things. We've asked the person to be on the call or be present.
Yes.
So
Yep.
it sounds to me like we need to make a motion to table, right, Julie?
We
Correct.
could table. Yep.
Can we table both in one motion?
They're both 2 different separate items, so I would say you'd have to do them separately.
All right, I'll make a motion to table the appointment of Joe Brzezinski to the DDA at this time until we have better information from both candidates.
Support.
We have a motion. We have support. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one opposed. Motion carried. We'll table that item. And the letter of interest for Sean Reed.
I'll make a motion, we table the approval or appointment of Sean Reed until we are able to meet with other candidates, until we're able to meet with the candidates.
Support.
Okay. We have a motion. We have support. Do you have that, Jolene?
Yep.
Any discussion? If not, we'll go to, well, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you very much. Letter of interest from Chris Burkett for Parks and Recreation Commission. Do I
Now,
have a motion?
is this for the alternate or is this for a seat?
It's for alternate.
It says alternate
Yeah.
right there.
If we have another
Okay.
opening, then we can
Sorry, I didn't
deal
see
with
that.
that. But right now there is an alternate position open.
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Chris Burkett as the alternate for Parks and Rec Committee for a 4-year term expiring 1/15/26 as presented and waive the reading.
Support.
We have a motion. We have support. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you very much. I'm excited to have her on board with Parks and Rec. The 2020-2021 budget amendments. Now, did everybody have a chance to read those over, I trust? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 budget amendments as presented and waive the reading.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
Yeah, it was a little quiet.
Was that Derek?
Support.
Okay. We have a motion. We have support. Any discussion? We'll go to a roll call vote on that one.
Right. Wakeman,
Yes.
Welton,
Yes.
Gramza,
Yes.
Grimes,
Yes.
Mayor Gardner.
Yes. Motion carried. Thank you very much. Resolution F, resolution number 954, Lake Erie Local Government Agreement.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution number 954 for the Lake Erie Local Government for President Biden executive order as presented and waive the reading.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
We have a motion and support. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a roll call vote.
Wakeman,
Yes.
Gramza,
Yes.
Welton,
Yes.
Grimes,
Yes.
Mayor Gardner.
Yes. Thank you very much. Motion carried. Council input and information. Any more words of wisdom or questions? Thank you very much. I thought it was a very, very good meeting. Good resolution of all we had tonight. You saw the county building activities report, a great history lesson in Monroe County construction. General information of future meeting dates. We'll be doing virtual meetings when we can. We are allowed to do in-person meetings with the proper precautions, which means masking, distancing. And the total occupancy cannot exceed 25, which usually is not a problem. The Parks and Recreation is Tuesday, May 11th, 7 o'clock at Water Tower Park. The FEP committee meets Tuesday, May 18th, 7 o'clock at Water Tower Park. The DDA meets next week, April 27th at 6:30 at Water Tower Park.
No, 7.
Oh, 7. Oh, yeah. Okay, DDA 7. Planning is Tuesday, April 27th, 4 p.m., the same day, only 4 p.m. at City Hall. Next City Council meeting is May 13th, 2021, and that will be a Zoom meeting. Thank you, everyone. We encourage everyone to seriously consider vaccinations. It's the only way we're going to get through this. And thank you for all your hard work with council.
Thank
At
you.
this time, all we need is a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this evening's proceedings and meeting.
Support.
We have a motion, we have support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
I did
Good
get
night.
my second vaccine. Was a piece of cake. Had no problems at all.
I'm hoping mine's not. My first one was horrible.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah. It. Mine. I was pretty pleased. It really didn't.
I got the Johnson & Johnson